We are starting the one more class. So now you are able to see the board, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, start the discussion. So anyway, so now, so last week, we have started our course and we have seen some important things. Okay, so if you remember, so we have written all the equations of motion. Okay, so in our last classes we have seen. So now here the most important thing what we have observed was, so we can write displacement equations. You can solve everything in terms of displacement or so displacement stress. Okay, or velocity displacement stress. Okay, and velocity stress formulation also. So any set of equations we can use to solve our problems. Okay, so any of this is fine. Now analytically speaking all of them are same, but when you try to do it in a numerical method, say, okay, like finite difference or finite element or something, so it matters. Okay, so which equations you are solving, and errors also will be proportional to the type of the order of the equations, that derivative, so that becomes very very important. So this becomes very important for numerical methods. Okay, analytically all are same, so it doesn't matter. So this is the most important thing. So what type of formulation you are using. We also discussed weak form, strong form also, okay, in our previous classes. And finally you see we started discussing this stress strain relations. Okay, now here also the stress strain relations, they become very important to see in a numerical method, how you are incorporating in your calculations. Okay, so now generally, as already I told you, right, for elastic material, all of now for viscoelastics, so generally damping will be there in our material. So in structural dynamics, it is very easy. Once you have a mass matrix, stiffness matrix, you can use that, the other damping, mass proportional, or Rayleigh damping, or something like a constant damping, and you can solve. But when you are trying to solve in your continuous system, say, so it matters. Okay, so how you are writing your stress strain relations also. Okay, so as already we said, so for a viscoelastic continuum, say, okay, so the stress strain relation generally, we write like this. So if it is one dimensional, some psi of t, a convolution integral with epsilon dot of t. So this is our r. If you write in terms of convolution, so minus infinity to t. So psi t minus tau. So psi dot of tau d tau. Okay. So this is our constitutive equation. You see, when you try to write it in for a viscoelastic medium. If you write in Fourier transform, so this becomes m of omega multiplied by epsilon of omega. So this is a general for any viscoelastic material. Okay, so sometimes like already we have said in our last classes, you can write in terms of stresses, strains in terms of stresses also. So epsilon of t also you can write. So this becomes minus infinity to t, some psi say, so t minus tau sigma dot of tau d tau. Okay, so these are how we write generally for a viscoelastic medium. So these are the fundamental equations. Okay, so only thing what you have to remember is ordinary elastic solids, say, we write as m into epsilon of t. Okay, so this is for ordinary Hooke's material, that is a elastic material. So for elastic material, so your m is basically constant kind of a thing. It doesn't depend on time. So you write like this. Now for viscoelastic, because damping and other things will be there, so it becomes a convolution, and you have strain rate. Okay, so this is the most important thing you should know. Okay, that is a summary of our last class. So now so if you want to characterize any viscoelastic material, say, so your main thing is so these are the two functions, psi or psi. Okay, or sometimes instead of talking in terms of time domain, you can do in the frequency domain also. Okay, so this I think we told as some creep function kind of a thing. Okay, so this is a definition, creep function. And what is psi? What did we tell in our last class?
Stress response.
stress relaxation function or something, so you can say, okay, some relaxation function. So if you know this psi or or this psi or m of omega, say, okay, then you know everything about the viscoelastic material actually. Okay, so this characterizes a viscoelastic material. Okay, so now last class we have defined several things. Okay, so if you see on our last class that the discussion or something, so we have defined several parameters also, like we have defined mu, you remember, which is defined as so limit omega tends to infinity, say, so your m of omega, so this we call as unrelaxed modulus, or if it is in time domain, say, so limit t tends to 0 psi of t. Okay, so this is one unrelaxed modulus we have defined in our last class. Then we have also defined mr. Okay, that is limit omega tends to 0 m of omega, or if you write it in time domain, say, okay, so t tends to infinity psi of t. Okay, so this is what we are calling as relaxed modulus. Okay, so these are some two important things which we have defined in our last class. So what is the physical meaning of these two? What does it tells you? Now, see this definition, and you can visualize easily. What does it tells you? No.
Relaxed modulus eventually relaxes
No, no,
to
not
lesser
relax.
stress.
No, no, that is fine. But if you see this definition, actual, okay. So what is this omega tends to infinity? So this is like high frequency phenomenon. This is something related to the low frequency kind of a thing. See, suppose if you are having your material, say, you supply this type of force, A sine omega t. Okay. So you have applied a force which is a harmonic force and which is a sinusoidal. Okay, so when you apply a harmonic force, say, okay, and let us say this frequency is very small, actually, you followed it, very small, and then if you try to find out this is stress versus strain kind of a thing, or strain rate, and you try to find out the slope, actually, okay, so that slope will be equal to this mr. Okay, so that is the meaning of this expression. Now suppose if you apply a high frequency wave, say, so a sine omega t, let us say your omega you have taken as some 1000 hertz, very large type of a thing. So that means the wave will be, you see, high frequency wave. Okay, low frequency means something like this. Okay, so now when your material, or when your body is subjected to these type of a thing, and then you plot your stress versus strain rate, say, okay, so the slope of the line, you can call this as you followed it unrelaxed modulus, you can define also. So this is one way, if you want physical meaning, so you can define for these quantities. And of course, in the time domain also, you can say t tends to 0, what happens, your psi of t. So it is something like, we try to do it in your earthquake engineering, you remember, response spectra. Okay, so asymptotic properties, actually. Okay, so this is your psi of t, say, okay. So this is your relaxation function, or whatever you are having. So now these are the asymptotic properties. So t tends to 0, t tends to infinity. So where this function is going, where this function is going, actually. Okay, so this is something like you followed, right? Asymptotic properties, mathematically speaking. Okay, of course you can define in frequency domain also, and you can define it in the time domain. So this is like a response spectra also, I hope all of you know, right? As t tends to 0, it goes towards a p ground acceleration, other side it goes towards 0 itself. So these are anyway nothing but your asymptotic properties. And we defined also last class delta m, that is mu minus mr kind of a thing, that is a modulus defect or something we have defined. And then the one more important thing we defined was the quality factor, which is defined as a real part, say, of m of omega by imaginary part of m of omega. Okay, so this is the most important concept. Okay, this is what we call as quality factor. Okay, which is nothing but generally you can do mathematically, so reciprocal of damping, this is of this viscous damping. Okay, so which you have studied in your structural dynamics course itself. Okay, so now the most important thing what you should see is your m of omega, say, for elastic material. Okay, so your m is basically constant kind of a thing you have. Now for viscoelastic materials, say, okay, So your m is function of omega, and there is a chance of it may be complex also, okay, because right. So psi of t is this relaxation function if it is a real function, okay. Now what happens to its Fourier transform? See, you would have known, right, the properties of the when you take properties of Fourier transform, say. So if you are having any real function, okay, there is no imaginary. So if you take its Fourier transform, what will be its properties? Now, so since we are writing, right, Fourier transform of your psi of t to the power of I omega t dt kind of a thing. What is the property for m of omega if psi of t has to be real? What is the property of Fourier transform? So in time domain, if the signal is real, say, what will happen to frequency domain? No. So like you people are doing for acceleration time histories, right? So acceleration time histories, when you take a Fourier transform, say, how does it behave? No. No, how it behaves, say. See, what is the property of Fourier transform? So what will be m of omega such that psi of t has to be real? No. Now what's the property? So we can write like this, and this is a real function, say, okay. What should be the constraint on m of omega? Tell me. What should be the criteria, say? You people are there?
Yes, sir.
What's the constraint on m of omega? Because this is in real function, so what should be here, like acceleration time history you have, say, you have computed, right, the Fourier amplitude spectra, say, whether they are complex or real.
It's a real fact. Real.
Be careful for acceleration time history.
Complex.
They are complex actually. They are perfect. They are complex only. But what will be the real part and imaginary part? You remember. So real part will be symmetric. You followed, and imaginary part will be asymmetric actually, okay, because when you try to integrate, say, what happens, because imaginary part is asymmetric function, so the area under imaginary part becomes 0, it gets cancelled, but real part is symmetric, so you followed it, it is something like this, and your imaginary parts, it is something like this, so imaginary parts gets cancelled, so real part gets symmetric, so it gets added up, and finally your psi of t will be a real signal actually, okay. So anyway, so now if you try to compare elastic material with viscoelastic, your m is constant for elastic. For viscoelastic material, m bar omega is a complex kind of a quantity. It has a real part, it has an imaginary part also. That's why this q of omega and all those things comes into picture. Okay, and now I think last class we have already written, you see, for Hooke's solids. Okay, all the things we have seen, So for Hooke's solid, so that is only you have a stiffness, so this becomes sigma t m into epsilon of t. So if you write in Fourier domain also, say, okay, so you can write this as epsilon of omega. Okay, now if it is a Stokes body, say, Stokes body is only dash part. Okay, this also we wrote, so your sigma of t is eta into epsilon dot of t. Okay, and if you write in frequency domains, so sigma omega becomes I omega eta epsilon omega. Okay, this is for a Stokes body. You can see here, this is in time domain, this is in frequency domain, so this is your m. You can see here, now m is imaginary right here, so you can see m is a imaginary kind of a quantity which you have actually. Okay, so now this is for ordinary Hooke's law body and then Stokes body we have seen. So now none of them represents the real life situation. So in reality, if you see all materials, say, okay, so real life materials, if you see concrete, steel, or even the soil or earth also. Okay, so all of them, they have some elasticity, they have viscoelastic, they're all basically viscoelastic bodies actually. Okay, so this is a Hooke's solid is a pure elastic. Okay, and this is a pure viscous. The Stokes body. So pure viscous, pure elastic. So but now in reality all the materials are viscoelastic, which means They have viscous component also. They also have elastic component also. So if I want to have both the components, say elasticity should be there, viscosity also should be there. Then we have last class, we have defined all those things. Okay, Maxwell's body, how you can get both the features actually. So we have already defined last class. I will not go into all those things here. So this is our Maxwell's body, and what was the expression you people remember? So now, so epsilon omega, say, I think we wrote like this. So sigma of omega by m, the stress strain relation, okay, sigma of omega by, I omega into eta. And finally, after all those things, say, we have written our stress strain relation as, I omega eta m by, you say, m plus I omega eta into epsilon of omega. This is in frequency domain. Okay, so this was expression. So you can write this as m of omega into epsilon of omega. So this is the stress strain relation in frequency domain for a Maxwell's body. Okay, so now I think we have also, and then of course you can solve this even in the time domain also. So our psi of t, say, so this also you can find out. So for Maxwell's body, so we already, I think you followed, right? We have derived in our previous class. What was the psi of t, if you remember any? So em e to the power of some t by tau of sigma h of t. Okay, the last class we have defined. It is nothing but IFFT of m of omega. That's all only. Okay. So this we have defined in our last class. And finally, if you want m of t, say, okay. You remember psi of t, some notations we have used in our last class. So m e to the power of minus omega r into t, some delta of t minus omega r into h of t, something we have written. Okay, so this you followed it. We have written in our last class actually. Okay, and of course we have written all the expression psi of t, say that creep function. This also we derived. So this was also 1 by m, 1 plus so t by tau sigma. This was our creep function. Okay, so this we have written in our for a Maxwell's body, and we have also drawn our stress strain relations and others also. So what is the speciality about Maxwell's body? So if you plot epsilon versus time and sigma versus time, say. So if you apply sudden stress, actually, how Maxwell's body behaves? Now, you have subjected your body to a constant stress sigma naught from time t naught to t1. Okay, so this is a constant stress you have you have applied to your body. So now I think last class we have written. So what is the stress strain relation? So it has sudden so when you apply a constant stress, say, your strain increases suddenly, at time t is equal to t, there will be an instantaneous strain actually. Okay, so there will be instantaneous strain, immediate response it shows. But when you remove the, and it keeps on increasing the strain. Okay, now at the time t naught, when you have removed the stress, right, it comes back, but it doesn't come back to zero. It goes something like a constant kind of thing it has actually. Okay, so this we have drawn in our last class also. So what does it tells you for the hooks for this Maxwell's body? What does it tells you? So when you are having instantaneous stress, okay, sudden stress. So when you apply, when the stress is instantaneous stress, say, okay, so your strain is also instantaneous only. But after that, it keeps on increasing. Once the stress is removed, what is happening is the strain is not zero actual. The strain is not zero. Some small you followed, right? It becomes a constant actual. Okay, so what does it tells you? What does Maxwell's body
So it
says?
doesn't return to its equilibrium position, so original position.
Original position. So what is that property? It has to, once you remove the load, it is coming back to the original position. So what is that property? What is that property? Elastic only.
Not
Yes.
elastic. Yeah.
Elastic only. Okay, so this is not elastic. You followed, right? So Maxwell's body, instantaneous is captured, but it is not elastic actually. Okay, so it is not elastic kind of a thing. It has Maxwell's. Okay, so this we discussed in our last class also. Okay, now similarly also, of course, we have done for see, generally these tests are done in the to find out if you remember for viscoelastic materials. If you want to find out creep, this relaxation and others in the laboratory, what people do in the lab, so they subject these type of stresses actually. Okay, so you have having materials. If you want to characterize its viscoelastic properties, it will be subjected to sudden stress actually. Okay, from up to some T0 to T1, you see they just apply the stress, and then they find out the response, and then they find out the psi of the psi, psi, and then all kinds of things itself. Okay, so this is the most important thing with this Maxwell's body. Okay, we discussed a lot, and now Kelvin walked also we have seen now. So if you remember the the equations for Kelvin, this one, so in frequency domain, so if you remember, you see, so m plus I omega eta into epsilon of omega. Okay, so this is our Kelvin walk to solid, and all of right. So Kelvin walk is basically things are in parallel kind of a thing. Okay. So this is our Kelvin walk to solid. Okay, so this is our Kelvin walk. So this is our stress strain relation in frequency domain. Now if you write it in the I think time domain also, we have, I hope we have written, I think, right, in time domain. I think the sigma of t. So because I think it is in this one, so you can write this as I think m epsilon of t plus eta epsilon dot of t. I think we have written, and of course you can find out the other functions also. The creep function also we have written. Okay, so psi of t is 1 by m. So 1 minus e to the power of t by tau of epsilon also. Okay, so you can find out all other things also. Okay, and now here what was the thing with Kelvin walk to solid? Now you remember. So if you try to find out, so suddenly applied stress. Okay, so stress is applied sudden. Now how it behaves, you remember. So last class you remember we have drawn something like this, and after some point say, so this is a t naught. Okay, so it becomes like this. Okay, so this is epsilon versus time. Okay, now what is your comment here? Now what is our comment here? So at time t naught, stress is instantaneous.
Recovers, it can come
It
back.
recovers, but it recovers actually. Okay, which means it is elastic. You followed, right? Elastic only, but no, in the starting time, what is happening at time t naught, stress is sudden stress is applied actually. Okay, but the strain is not
Strain is not sudden. It's
sudden actually. It is not instantaneous strain here. That is another problem here. So generally we expect you follow too much memory kind of a thing. It is or strain is instantaneous, stress is instantaneous, but strain is not instantaneous kind of a thing. But another thing is it recovers. Okay, it elastic thing or something. So these are the properties of these two. Okay, so now if you see in real life structures, say, okay, if you see any geological materials or even concrete or steel or any type of materials, generally, this instantaneous thing you followed, it automatically, all materials show this type of instantaneous behavior. Okay, so so in reality, your all the materials, they are neither Maxwell, they are neither Kelvin walked. Both of them cannot represent, you see, the real material properties itself. So for this, we use this another body also we discussed in our last class, that is standard linear. Okay, or the Zener's body. So this is the one we discussed. Okay, so this is nothing but combination of you followed, right, these two materials kind of a thing. Okay, so I think we have written this is our Zener's body. Okay, so you can combination of these two, so you can have a Zener's body like this. Okay, so a Maxwell's body is here, then your Hooke's body is here. Okay, is here. You connect both of them in parallel kind of a thing, or you can draw with this Kelvin walked solid also. Okay, so you have you followed, right, like this type of a framework also. So this is Kelvin walked body, and here you have a Hooke's body, and then or you can have a Maxwell's body with the Hooke's kind of a thing. Okay, so now one can show that although the equations are this way or some parameter this and this also, if you look at these expressions carefully, say both are one can show that both are same actually. Okay, so just some here and there some expression will be this way or that way, but you followed it, both of them are same. Okay, so these Hooke's body parallel with Maxwell's body. Okay, the P stands for parallel kind of a thing. Now here it is a Hooke's body series connection with Kelvin-Vogt body. So this stands for the series connection kind of a thing. But both of them are same. You can show mathematically also. One can do also. Okay. So now I think last class we already wrote for this one. So what was the expression you remember for the this solid? So what was the expression for Zener's body? Okay, that is Hooke's. So the first case, Hooke's body connected parallel with Maxwell's body. We wrote, I think, in our last class also. So this was, your sigma say. So we wrote
Sigma
as
W is equal to MR EW plus I omega N.
big, I think, expression was there. Okay.
Yes.
So MR 1 plus I omega, some eta by delta M, I think,
MB by MR
Yes. So some big
divided by 1 plus I omega N divided by delta M.
not N, eta. Okay. So epsilon omega. So this is our this entire expression say is your m of omega actually. Okay. So this is for a Hooke's body. That is for a Zener's body. I think we wrote the this function also, right? The stress relaxation function also. So this was mr, which is nothing but IFFT of m of omega 1 minus tau of epsilon by tau of sigma e to the power of t by tau sigma. Okay, h of t, of course. And I think the creep function also we have written, I think, the last class. So 1 by mr. So 1 minus tau sigma by some tau epsilon e to the power of minus tau by tau epsilon. Of course, your step function h of t. Okay. So these are our things for a Zener's body, and how the stress strain relations also, I think we have drawn, right? The same things say. Now, so if we see stress versus time, suddenly applied stress, okay, from T0 to T1. Now, how strain is going to vary? We have drawn in the last class. Okay, so when a sudden stress is said, so now for the Zener's body, there will be a sudden strain actual. Okay, it shows instantaneous, and then it comes something like this, and then you follow it drops, and then you see it goes back to zero kind of a thing. So this quantity, I think sigma naught by m1, and this is, you can write as sigma naught by m1 plus some sigma naught by m2 kind of a thing. So this expression. So now this is how the stress strain, this strain versus time delicate. So now what is your observation here? Now,
instantaneous strain as well as because
so now this has properties of both Maxwell plus Kelvin-Vogt actually. Remember, see this we have drawn just now. So this Kelvin-Vogt, instantaneous was not there, but recovery was there. But for Maxwell's say, instantaneous was there, but recovery was not there actually. Okay, but now if you do this type of a format say, so what is happening is it borrows all the good properties from the Maxwell's and Kelvin-Vogt bodies, you see. So this curve, so it has all the nice properties are there, you followed. So it has instantaneous, it has a recovery, so it works nicely with the real life materials actually. Okay. So if you take any real life materials, concrete, steel, or even geological materials like rocks and so many other things are there. So they all show these type of patterns also here. Okay. So these how, and of course one can show that we have written this expression for HP PMB. Suppose if you try to derive HBS and KVB say. So here also the property is exactly same. If you draw the stress strain, so this is valid for both the cases, but only thing is some small changes here and there will be there, but both of them will give you followed, right, the same answer or the same behavior you can get from these two also. So mathematically one can also prove that both of them are same itself also. Okay, so I am not going into detail. If you are interested, sir, you can proceed with it. You can do it yourself. Okay. And now the most important thing also we have seen for Maxwell's body, Q inverse. Okay, that is your damping. So for Maxwell's body we have seen, right? So damping is like this. for Maxwell's body for Kelvin-Vogt solids. That is, real part, imaginary part of m omega by real part of omega. Okay. So for Kelvin-Vogt solids, it is like this actually. Okay. So now for Zener's body, what happens?
Constant.
Be careful. It will be constant for Zener's body. Last class we have already just you can just imagine. See, Maxwell's body is decreasing with frequency. Here Kelvin-Vogt means increasing in frequency. So Zener's body is a combination of this plus this actual. You followed Maxwell's plus a good property from this plus Kelvin-Vogt. So now Zener's body is it is something like this. It's a Gaussian function. Okay. So this quantity say okay. So this is something you followed some tau sigma, or this frequency will be 1 by 2 times pi into tau sigma or something like that. Okay. So this is how the Zener's body, the damping, it looks like this actually. Now in a reality say, so if you take all materials, many materials, what type of damping are essentially in seismic things. Okay. So what will be the damping? See, in seismic data also, even in dynamics also for concrete, steel and others also. So generally damping is considered as, you followed what type of damping is considered?
Constant.
It is a constant damping actual. Okay. So if you want constant damping, so what is that you have to do? No. I think last class we already said, right? What did we do?
N number of general bodies we have to add.
So now Maxwell had Kelvin-Vogt. We combined those two, we got Zener's body. So Zener's body, it shows all promising things, but damping it has a problem. So now what you do is you followed it, you combine all Zener's bodies actually. Okay. So combine this Zener's bodies are standard linear solids. Okay, to get constant damping or constant quality factor or something like that. Okay. So this also I think we discussed in our last class. So how do we do this one? So there are several ways. So you are having the Zener's bodies. Okay, so this is one Zener's body. You take another Zener's body. So Zener's body means it can be Hooke's body parallel with Maxwell or Hooke's body series with Kelvin-Vogt. Both of them are going to give the same result also. So this is one, this is two, and you have several like this, and then you join all of them say in terms of a the parallel kind of a combination. So like this you can draw okay some n standard linear solids. How many are required, that depends on your problem. Okay, depends on your material also. So this is our the standard linear solids actually. Okay, so this is our standard the linear solids also, the famous one which everybody uses in seismic things. So the main advantage of this this combination say is essentially, as already we said, you will, there is a chance of getting you followed right this constant damping. So the constant is the Q. So these some advantage you have in our this thing. So now you followed right. So now I think we wrote in our last class also. I think I followed right. So if there are n Zener bodies, say, okay, if there are n Zener bodies are there, so you followed it. So generalized Maxwell's and this one, so you can write this as m of omega. This becomes your mh some I is equal to 1 to n. So you have I ml omega, I think this is L. Okay, so IL, so omega L plus I times omega kind of a thing you have, and you can write I think all the expressions also. You followed it. Your psi of t say. Okay, so this will be mr. So plus delta m. Some L is equal to 1 to n. Okay, so AL, some coefficients are there, e to the power of minus omega L into t multiplied by h of t kind of a thing. Okay, so like this you can write this this materials also. Okay, one can this way you can derive for other things also. Okay, so now here one more important thing is it comes into picture. Okay, one second. Now, so I think this is what we wrote. Psi of t is okay. You can write e to the power of minus omega L into t. I think this is fine. Okay, fine. Now, so now here you follow, right? So now to do this thing in a nice fashion. See, sometimes, so now as already I told you, so psi of t is there, So now as already I told you, so your sigma of t, say, okay, is nothing but a convolution function t minus tau into epsilon dot of tau d tau. Okay, so this is our the expression, the stress strain relation, or you followed it, stress versus strain rate relation for a viscous elastic body actual. Okay, now if you want to find out this in solve in a numerical method, say, we have a problem actual. Okay, so if you want to represent this in a numerical method, okay, like finite difference, okay, or finite element or spectral techniques, say, FEM, or of course FEM is slightly easy, but when you want to represent the finite elements, or the spectral methods, we have a problem here. See, suppose in a finite difference technique, say, how do you represent in a finite difference technique? What do you do? In finite difference techniques, the derivatives can be are approximated through that Taylor series expansions. Okay, but now in a finite difference, all are difference equations only. You followed. So differential equation. So if you have differential equations, say, it is very easy to solve in a finite difference framework, or even in spectral methods also. Okay, differentially. But here the problem of viscoelastic, this type of thing, is a convolution integral actually. See, now how do you represent a convolution integral in a finite difference format? So this becomes a problem. Okay, so how to represent a finite convolution integral in a finite difference method? You followed. So this is a a problematic thing in our numerical implementation of this stress strain relations. Okay, now not your frequency domain also you can't use, because when you're writing in finite differences, you are solving, you see, the differential equations. So now the question comes is whether this this constitutive equations, whether this constitutive law, okay, can be represented in terms of a difference equation. Okay, can be represented in terms of a differential equation. Okay, instead of a convolution integral. Okay, differential equation instead of a convolution integral. So this is the question. Okay, so if I can convert my convolution integral into some type of a ordinary differential equation, say, then a numerical implementation will be very easy. That is the idea here. So now, so to do this one, so what we do in our many, in all the time domain things, we have what we call as the unelastic variables actually. Okay, or memory variables also sometimes people call. So unelastic functions. Okay, or the memory variables, they say. You followed. So these are something like a new variables, where our equation will be represented in terms of you see a differential equation. Okay, so this is our equation in frequency domain. In time domain anyway, it is a convolution integral. So now for this Zener's solid or whatever we have, or you can write this as sigma of t, say, is minus infinity to t m of t minus tau epsilon of tau d tau actual. Okay, so this is our constitutive relation for viscoelastic material. So now we want to replace this by an ordinary differential equation, or ODE or PDE, you followed it. It will be very easy to solve in a numerical format. So now for our generalized Maxwell's bodies, that's Zener's body. Okay, that is Zener's several Zener's bodies or whatever we have. So this function says psi of t. Okay, so this one will be mu minus L is equal to 1 to n. So we have ml 1 minus e to the power of minus omega L into t h of t. So this is our relaxation function, say, for our this GMB, that this Zener standardized linear solids, where n is the number of the Zener's bodies. Okay, RDs are there, say. So now your m of t, okay, which is nothing but derivative of psi dot of t, you know, previously we have written also, okay. So this becomes sigma L is equal to 1 to n, okay. So ml omega L e to the power of minus omega L into t h of t plus, it's just a derivative of the above expression, okay. So mu minus L is equal to 1 to n. So we have ml 1 minus e to the power of minus omega lt, okay, multiplied by delta of t, okay. So this is a derivative of that function. So this is our m of t. So now if we substitute this in our stress equation, say sigma of t, so this becomes minus infinity to t. So m of t minus tau epsilon of tau d tau, okay. So be careful. So this equation, so you can also write as psi into t minus tau epsilon dot actual, okay, or the derivative has been transferred to m itself, okay. So now when you have transferred the derivative, say, so this becomes epsilon, or you can also write this expression as psi dot, okay. So this psi dot of t is this one, so psi t minus tau, say epsilon dot of tau d tau, you remember. So this derivative has been transferred to this one, so then this becomes m itself, okay. So this is the difference between these two. I think last class we have written in the same format. So now you substitute m of t, say, in this expression, okay. So the expression becomes minus infinity to t, okay. So minus we have, so sigma L is equal to 1 to n. So ml omega L, so e to the power of minus omega L t minus tau, so h t minus tau epsilon tau d tau, okay. So this plus we have minus infinity to t mu, so delta t minus tau epsilon of tau d tau, just we have substituted in this expression, okay. So now all the, and of course one more term also is there, so minus infinity to t. So L is equal to 1 to n. So m of L 1 minus e to the power of minus omega L t minus tau delta t minus tau epsilon tau d tau, okay. So substitute all the terms. So now three portions are there, okay. So that is so if you see this m of integrals, so you have this is the first term, this is an m of u, then this is another term, okay. So you just substituted here, so we have three terms are there. So now using the properties, right, what is this integral here? So what is this value of this integral? Can anybody tell us using the property of direct delta function? What is this integral? See what is the value of this integral. So if you multiply anyway m of u is constant, okay, you can make it outside. What is the property of direct delta function?
It replaces.
What it does? So what is common between these two?
Tau.
Tau is common, so it gets replaced actually, okay. So this integral can be written as mu into epsilon of t. You follow? So now other things you can do here itself. So some of them will get cancelled here. If you see here, ml is here 1 minus e to the power of here. So here also you have these terms are there. So some of them will go this way, that way. So you just some are rearranging all those terms here. So you can write this expression as L is equal to 1 to n ml omega L minus infinity to t e to the power of minus omega L, so t minus tau epsilon of tau d tau, okay. So this is our final expression, the stress strain relation, okay, for a viscoelastic material which is characterized in terms of several Zener's bodies or several these standard linear solids are there, okay. So now these also once again you are having integrals. Why we are doing all this procedure? We want to represent this in terms of a differential equation actually, okay. So now to represent in terms of differential equation, now we define a new things. So we define unelastic functions, okay. So these are special functions are there, nothing are memory variables, so we define as some xi L of t, okay. So omega L, so minus infinity to t, so e to the power of minus omega L t minus tau epsilon of tau d tau. Okay, and of course L runs from 1 to n actual. Okay, so this portion, say omega L, this portion we are calling as this entire expression as you see this psi L of t. So this is what we are calling as unelastic functions. Okay, so the advantage is so if you can write the expression as like this. So sigma of t, say, is mu epsilon of t minus sigma L is equal to 1 to n, so ml psi L of t. So this entire expression we are denoting by this unelastic function. So now you followed it. So now if you differentiate, say, okay, so if you differentiate this expression, that is this quantity, so this expression, so sigma of t as a function of time, say, okay, or differentiate this function, okay, I'm sorry, so differentiate this function, actual unelastic function, differentiate this psi L of t with respect to time. Okay, now what happens is so dou by dou t, so psi L of t, so just to differentiate that expression, so omega L minus omega L minus infinity to t e to the power of minus omega L t minus tau d tau plus you have this epsilon t. Okay, so these expression you get when you differentiate this this unelastic function, actual. So this function we have differentiated, actual. Okay, so if you differentiate like this, so this is how you get. And once again you can write this expression as dou by dou t, okay, psi L of t. What is this quantity? So what is this quantity? So now this is our psi L here. So now so this portion, so you can write this as minus you see omega L. Once again psi L itself we have, and of course we also have omega L into epsilon of t. So this expression, which is inside our brackets, once again you followed, right? You have this you have once again you said epsilon dot of tau also is inside. So now once again this quantity is psi L itself. So or you can also write this as dou by dou t psi L of t plus omega L psi L of t is equal to omega L epsilon of t itself, actual. Okay, so now if you see this expressions, say, okay, so if you can write this so your sigma of t, say, okay, is mu into epsilon of t minus L is equal to 1 to n. You followed. So ml, of course, you have this psi L of t. So this is our the viscoelastic, you see, the constitutive equation for viscoelastic material written in terms of this equations, actual. So now here what is that? So this is a basic expression which relates stress with strain. So if I know strain at a particular point, say, I can find out stress at a particular point. For that I require this unelastic function. How do I find this unelastic function? How to get this unelastic function? You have to solve this ordinary differential equation, actually. And what type of equation this is? This is only a first order equation. And your right hand side, what is you are on the right hand side? You are having the strain. Okay, so once you know the strain, you know how to solve a first order equation. Okay, so now this you can represent in terms of a finite difference, or you followed, right, finite difference format or something like that. So you solve this equation for a given strain, you get your psi L. Once you know psi L, say, you substitute here, you will get back your stress itself, actual. Okay, so now instead of writing in terms of a constitutive equations, okay, so our original equation was like this. Okay, convolution integral minus infinity to t m of t minus tau epsilon of tau d tau. So this was our original the equation for viscoelastic material. Okay, now with the help of this unelastic functions or this memory variables, say, so this convolution is not there, so you have replaced this with several ordinary, you followed it, the differential equations, actually. Now which is easy to implement in a computer format in a essentially finite difference or spectral element methods, say. Okay, no need to solve this convolution. So you can this is a much more you followed it, it is a very easy way of implementing the things here. So for finite difference spectral element, all many numerical techniques, say spectral methods, they all use, they write a constitutive equation not in terms of a convolution, they write in terms of a ordinary, the differential equation. Okay, so this is the most, the important thing in, this our numerical methods. So is it clear? Now, is it clear?
Yes, sir.
So what is the main advantage here? Convolution has been replaced with
Differential
equations. Sometimes, some more, people have done, like you see, unelastic coefficients also they define. Just same thing, only the concept is same, but slightly followed, right? They write, so unelastic coefficients they define, like, some y of L, which is nothing but your m of L only, but divided by m of u itself. So L runs from 1 to n. Instead of writing in terms of psi L, say, they write in terms of, you see, this YL kind of a thing also they write. And your sigma of t, say, so they write this as, m of u epsilon of t minus, L is equal to 1 to n. So y of L, say, into, your psi L of t. Okay, this also they write. And some after algebra, say, so you can also write dou by, dou t sigma of t. Okay, so this becomes, you see, mu. So dou by dou t epsilon of t, L is equal to 1 to n, so YL. Okay, and this is psi L of t, which is nothing but the time derivative of your this one. Okay, so this also people write sometimes here also. And now here m of u, say, or m of omega, it is in frequency domain if you want to represent. So this becomes, m of u, so 1 minus L is equal to 1 to n, so y of L omega L by, omega L plus I times omega. Okay, and your mr, of course these m's are of no use because you followed, right? So mr, so this becomes mu, the real, these are relaxed modulus and relaxed modulus. Okay, so L is equal to 1 to n, so sometimes you see YL kind of a thing, right? And to find out this quality factors, 1 by of q of omega, which is, m imaginary by m real. Okay, so this will be, sigma L is equal to 1 to n. Okay, so YL, so omega, L into omega by, you see, omega L square plus omega square. Okay, divided by, you see, 1 minus L is equal to 1 to n YL omega L square by, you see, omega L square plus omega square. Okay, so this is how you followed it. We write in practice also, or of course you can, do some algebra here and there, and of course you can calculate also. So now the main thing is, so this is an expression actual. So now in a reality, say, so what, so how do you solve these type of equations? So now your YLs are unknown actual. Okay, so your YL, what to do is, now when you are trying to implement for earth or concrete or any materials there, we all know the damping of the material actual. Okay, so the damping is known to you. So based on the damping, say, reciprocal of damping is your quality factor. Once you know the quality factor, you solve this equation, say, solve the above equation. Okay, for this YLs, you follow. So this unelastic coefficients you find out from these expressions, and once you know YLs, you can find out the material and all other parameters, you can get from the data itself. So this is the most important thing, which is where, you should remember, so the main idea here is the convolution integral has been replaced with a first order ordinary differential equation. So this is the main key. So this becomes very important for numerical methods. But if you are solving in analytically, say, analytical solutions, if you are looking for, this is all useless actually. Okay, you can easily do it in frequency domain, and you can get the solutions actually. Okay, so this is not at all required for analytical works. But only problem is numerical only. This is a big headache actually. Okay, and now here, one more important thing which one should know is the concept of phase velocity. This is also very, very important. Okay, phase velocity in elastic medium, in unelastic medium. Okay, in viscoelastic medium also, what happens? So these also very, very important thing. See, suppose if you write, the one-dimensional, if you try to write a harmonic wave, say, okay, or one-dimensional wave equation itself, if you try to write 1D wave equation, okay. So dou square u by say dou t square, of course rho will be there here. So dou sigma by dou x. So this is one dimensional. This comes from your stress equations of equilibrium. You remember last class in continuum mechanics, say the that stress equations of equilibrium are the right conservation of linear. You write dou sigma x by dou x, dou sigma xy by dou y, dou sigma xz, say by dou z is equal to this. Then you have dou square v, then you have rho dou square w also, the same equations which you have studied previously itself. Now if you assume it to be a one dimension, say, so okay, so if it is a one dimensional case, so you remove all these stresses, so you will be remaining only with the dou sigma xx by dou x. This will be on your right hand side, and on your left hand side you will be having this dou square u by dou t square actually, okay. So these are one-dimensional thing. So if you write the, and of course this also we are calling it as you followed it one-dimensional wave equation itself. And of course the stress strain relations, say for this one will be if it is a elastic material, then it will be dou u by dou x actual. Okay, so you can substitute and you can see that your rho into dou square u by dou t square is your m into dou square u by dou x square. Just substitute here in this expression, you will get this equation is also known as wave equation also. Okay, the one-dimensional wave equation or something also people call this. Okay, so same what you have studied in your continuum mechanics. Okay, so now for the if you want to find out solution of this equation, say okay analytically, so the analytical solution is something like this. You can write in terms of the harmonic waves. No, so m into dou square u by dou x square. So you can write the solution in terms of harmonic waves. Okay, you can show also. So your u, say if you write as e to the x I into omega t minus kx, you can show also this satisfies our solution. You followed. So this satisfies a plane wave. So these also known as a plane harmonic wave also. So now you substitute, say in u in sorry. So you substitute your u x comma t in wave equation. You followed. So you can substitute and then you can solve. So what happens? You see. So the derivative. So you followed. So I into omega t minus kx. So if you substitute here, say what happens? Dou square u by dou t square will be simply what happens? What happens to the derivatives? So we are assuming u x comma t is e to the power of I omega t. I omega whole square. This side I omega square will be there. U on right hand side will be m by rho will be there. So because minus is there, kx, ik will be this side square into u. So this is how you get actual. Okay, or your omega by k whole square is equal to m by rho. So this also we can write actual. Okay, so this omega by k, say, so this is known as a phase velocity. You follow. So this quantity is known as the phase velocity of the medium, or phase velocity of the particles in the material. Okay, or this c is basically you can also write this as c square. This is, so your c is sorry, c square. So c is basically defined as m by rho kind of a thing. See, the name why phase velocity comes here is if you see this expression, say the harmonic e to the power of I into omega t minus kx. Okay, so let us say we want the wave is propagating in time as well as in this one. Suppose if you put a constraint, if you want omega t minus kx should be same as time delta t, time also has moved, and space also, say, has moved by delta x. Okay, so if you want this criteria to be happen, omega t minus k should be same as omega into t plus delta t minus k into x plus delta x. So the only way is it can happen is basically your delta x, say, okay, by delta t. So this should be omega by k itself. So if this holds, you follow it, then you see it is basically a plane wave which is going, which is getting, same, that is getting reproduced after delta t, and it is getting reproduced in space also after some delta x. So this quantity, say, we call as, you followed it, the phase velocity. Okay. So this is the most, the important concept in wave propagation. Okay. So now, so here for elastic medium, say, so your phase velocity is basically, you see, constant kind of a thing which you have. And now here, one more thing also you should know. One is what sometimes, you should not get confused with particle velocity. What is particle velocity? What is particle velocity? See, phase velocity is omega by k. You followed, right? So phase velocity, if it is maintained, say, what does it tells you? So in time also, same thing is getting reproduced. So if I have this time period, say, so the same wave gets reproduced. You followed, right? Same thing is getting reproduced after it has satisfied in time as well as in space also. Okay, that is the meaning of phase velocity. There is one more thing what we call as particle velocity. What is a particle velocity? So particle velocity is nothing but you have this wave equation, right? So rho dou square u by dou t square m dou square u by dou x square. So you solve this equation, say, so you will get u, and if you try to find out derivative of u actually, okay, so the derivative of the u, if you try to find out, so that is what we call as a particle velocity. Okay, so particle velocity is different, phase velocity is different actually. So two things are there. Okay, so particle velocity, don't get confused between this and this. So phase velocity generally tells you, whether the phase is getting, you followed it, a constant phase, you are having or not. That is what it is given by this, the phase velocity. Okay, now this is valid for elastic medium. Now let us write for viscoelastic medium. Okay. Okay. Now for viscous elastic medium, say, now what happens? Okay, now for viscoelastic medium also, the equation remains the same. Rho dou square u by dou t square is equal to dou sigma by dou x. Okay, so these are stress equations of equilibrium. But now your expression is, so m of t, now it has become, this one. So now, so your m, the stress strain relation, say, now for this dou sigma by dou x, and now your sigma is basically m of t. Okay, convolution integral you have between strain. So strain is dou u by dou x. Okay, so this is our strain matrix. Okay, so dou u by dou x. So this is our and this is your convolution operator. Okay, so now if you try to substitute in this expression, say, so you can write as, so rho dou square u by dou t square is equal to, your m of t. Okay, so convolution. So you have dou square u by dou x square. Okay, so this is the equation you see for viscoelastic medium. Okay, now for elastic medium, it was convolution will be replaced by multiplication, and this becomes constant actually. Now for viscoelastic medium, m becomes a function of time, and multiplication is replaced with this convolution integral. So now to replace this convolution integral, so we write in Fourier domain actually. Okay, so we apply Fourier transform. So we do this Fourier transform with respect to time. You followed, right? So when you take the Fourier transform only with respect to time, so this becomes I omega whole square. So this is the Fourier transform of u. So right hand side, when you are doing a Fourier transform, say, so a convolution integral becomes a what happens in frequency domain?
Multiplication.
Yes, it becomes a multiplication. So m of omega, of course, rho you dump this side. So you have dou square by dou x square and your Fourier transform of u. So we have done only Fourier transform with respect to time. We have not even touched the space. Now, what is the property of m of omega for viscoelastic material? How m of omega will be for viscoelastic material? It is a real or a complex?
Complex.
Just now we have seen, no, for Maxwell's, Jenner's body, Kelvin Vogt solid, for all the bodies, M of W has to be complex. There is no other way. You followed, right? Otherwise, if it is not complex, say what happens? Your psi of t or relaxation functions, they will become complex actually. You followed. So if they have to be real, the only way is M of omega has to be complex. That is the Fourier property actually. Okay, so and it is a complex, and we have also seen it is basically frequency dependent also. Okay, this also we have seen. M by I omega, all kinds of things are there. Okay, so now so it's now to find out the solution of this equation, we write like this. So u t comma x, you can write this as some u bar t I k into x actual. So where k is you followed, right, the wave number. Okay, in viscoelastic medium. So I'm denoting this by this type of symbol. So this is a wave number. Okay, in viscoelastic medium actual. So now we substitute this in our equation, say. Okay, so now what happens? So now so dou square by this expression was right, f of u. So now if you substitute u as this expression, so what happens? The k becomes outside, so you have you followed k square becomes f of u itself, or you can write that expression as minus omega square is equal to m of omega by rho minus k square. Okay, just substitute this in this expression. So just this I have, what I have done is I have substituted in this expression, nothing else. Okay, so this will be replaced by k, so that's how f of u gets cancelled. So you will have this type of expression, or you can also write this as k by omega, say. This is what we are interested. So rho by m of omega. Okay, so this is our the k by omega. So previously we were calling this as you followed, right, the phase velocity kind of a thing. Now what is the problem here? In viscoelastic medium, what will be your phase velocity? It will be real or complex?
Complex.
Why? Because
It's also a complex.
because no, omega is not complex. M of omega is complex actually. You followed. So because M of omega contains real portion, imaginary portion is there, so there is a chance. Or we write like this. If you want to write this way also. So now this wave number, say. Okay. So if omega is real, the frequency is real, but this is let us assume that this is complex. Okay, the wave number. So we write, suppose if I write this k as, you have some k real plus I into k, imaginary kind of things. Okay. So you can write this expression as ut comma x as, so because your k has, real portion and imaginary portion is there. So now if you substitute in that e to the power of I omega t minus kx, say, what happens in this expression? So, this one, what we will write in. This is our solution actually. So now what happens in this expression if we substitute, we are saying is k is complex actually. It has imaginary portion and real portion. So what happens, so I into I, what happens? See, I into I, what happens? I into I square. So minus into minus becomes a plus actual. Okay, so you substitute in this expression. So finally, if you write this expression, so it becomes like e to the power of k imaginary portion into x, okay, multiplied by e to the power of I omega t minus real portion, say, into x. Okay, so now for viscoelastic medium, the solution, you have this extra term actual, which is coming into your picture. Okay, and this is same as your elastic medium. So one extra term has come into picture. What does it tells you? Now, what's the meaning of this one? Or you can also define the real phase velocity. Damping, or what does it happen? So if you define real phase velocity as some omega by k real. So what it is trying to do, this term, what it is trying to do to your system? As one of you mentioned, right, it is basically like a damping. See, for elastic medium, what is happening like this only. You followed? Now what is happening? You are multiplying this by some exponential. If suppose this k of imaginary portion, if it is negative, what happens? So there will be the decay will be there. So what it is trying to do to your system is you followed it. It becomes like this type of a thing also. What do you call this type of a thing?
Attenuation.
Attenuation is fine, but in a wave propagation, say, see now what is happening? The shape of the wave is changing actually with the time. See, if it is elastic medium, say, so whether time is 100 seconds or 200 seconds or infinity, so wave will be wave only. You followed, right? Nothing will change in this wave. You understand? The phase is going to remain constant. Particles are going, everything is going to remain fine. But in a viscoelastic medium, what is happening is because of this thing, say, the shape of the wave is getting changed in the space also. You followed? So the shape is changing in space. Now, what do you call this property? In a time we call as this is what we call as dispersion actually. You followed, right? The dispersion in space, because you please see here, so your things are into x itself. So this quantity we call as dispersive. That's why generally you followed, right? We say that the in viscoelastic mediums waves are dispersive, they say like this actually. Okay, so that is how this comes. So this is our real phase velocity you have are 1 by c set. So this becomes k real by omega. So you can write this as root of rho by m of omega. So the real portion of this quantity. Okay, the phase velocity is also this itself. And now you can also find out if the velocity is also complex, say. So complex velocity. So velocity also now you have two things: real part plus the imaginary part. Okay. So now you can define using all other quantities itself. So the complex velocity, this is in our viscoelastic medium. Okay. And c is your real phase velocity. Okay. So you can obtain the relation also. So one can show that c is you see v square by v real also. Okay, you can do some algebra here and there, you follow, right? One can also write like this: v square real plus v square imaginary by v real portion. Okay, so we can, so this is how you followed, right? The phase velocities they look like in our medium also. Okay, and then as already I told you, your q of omega, so the damping, you remember q of omega is given by m real by m imaginary also. Okay, so this also you followed, right? One can write, and you can show also the relation between q of omega and this itself. So like for example we have written as what's the expression for in a viscoelastic medium, say k imaginary into x. So we had e to the power of I omega t minus kx. Okay, now suppose if you write so this is our u t comma x or x comma t. Okay, now if I write u x plus some lambda comma t, what, and divided by u x comma t, what will be this expression? So this is u x comma t. Okay, e to the power of I k into mag into imaginary into x, e to the power of I omega t minus kx. Now I have added one wavelength actually. Okay, so now what happens when I add a wavelength? So in time domain it is going to remain same. So we are changing only x plus lambda. So what happens? So and then divide by u x comma t. So this I omega t term gets the cancelled kind of a thing. So you will be left with k I imaginary term multiplied by lambda, and you have e to the power of minus I k lambda. Okay, because anyway k lambda is equal to 2 pi, say. So this also can be thrown out actually. Okay, so k lambda, because you are going for one wavelength, so if you take this one, so e to the power of I 2 pi, right, it is basically 1 itself. So this becomes e to the power of k imaginary term into lambda itself. Okay, and if you denote this as a k imaginary portion by some alpha, say. Okay, so you can write this expression as u x plus lambda comma t by u x comma t. Okay, is our e to the power of minus alpha into lambda itself. Okay, and we can define this term as so this portion, say sometimes people also write this as e to the power of minus Sometimes we also write this as e to the power of minus pi by q spatial. You followed. So we also write like this, where your q spatial say is pi by alpha times lambda, or this is some k by 2 times see, the alpha kind of a thing also. Okay, and q spatial is also, we can write this as you can write in terms of phase velocities also. The previously we have done, right? 2 times v imaginary kind of a thing you can write also, and we can do some algebra itself. Okay, our original q definition was m real by m imaginary. Okay, so if you write this in terms of velocities, say v square real minus v square imaginary by some 2v real v imaginary kind of a thing we can write, and we can write this as v real say by 2 times v imaginary minus v imaginary by say 2 times is v real. Okay, or you can write this expression as so what is v real by 2 times v imaginary? That is nothing but q spatial. Okay, whatever we are defining there, so q spatial thing will be there minus 1 by 4 times q spatial. You follow. So now if I compare this with respect to this itself, say okay, both of them are exactly same. Now when generally q spatial, so this quantity see, like in earthquakes or even for concrete, so what is the q value? So q is reciprocal of damping. See, for concrete, what's the damping? See, for concrete, what's the damping value? In your dynamics you have studied, right?
5%.
What is the reciprocal of 5%? 100 by 5.
So 0.2, 20%.
20. Okay, so now when you take 20, say, so let us say q spatial is 20. What is 1 by 4 into 20? 1 by 80. When you
So
compare
5%
this,
is 0.2, sir.
not 5%. You have to do reciprocal of 5%. Okay, so what's the reciprocal of 5%? See, 5% means 5 by 100. Okay, reciprocal of 5% is what? 100 by 5. You understand? So q is 1 by eta. Okay, so you have 1 by 4 into 20. Now if I compare 20 with 1 by 4, what is this value? So this will be a very small actual compared to this one. So you can write this itself as approximate this itself, q of this itself. Okay, so what it tries to tell you is m real by m imaginary. So this whatever we have defined previously, so this q is related to your this term actually. Okay, that is this alpha or your k imaginary. So one can prove that your q, say whatever we are discussing, this q is nothing but your damping in the system itself. Okay, this is a very important thing actually. You follow. So both are same kind of a thing. So this very important concept in our seismology, or this in our when you do these type of calculations. Okay. So anyway, we will stop here. So the next class, we will continue our discussion. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
If you have any doubts, you can ask. So stop.